The stars shimmered like scattered diamonds against the endless black of space. In the heart of the Xyranth Empire, a grand starship floated silently, its hull polished and gleaming. The vessel was not just a transport, it was a palace. Crystal towers rose from its surface, and corridors of polished metal reflected the soft lights of the twin suns nearby. On this day, the palace was alive with preparation, filled with scents of exotic flowers, aromatic oils, and the faint hum of advanced alien technology. Queen Mara of the Xyranth Empire walked gracefully through the golden halls, her long robes flowing behind her. Her violet skin shimmered in the soft lights, and her multi-layered hair, colored like liquid silver, cascaded down her back. Today was her wedding day. But unlike most marriages arranged to strengthen power, this one was different. Her chosen mate was a human, Liam, a quiet, simple man from Earth. The idea of marrying a human had caused laughter in some corners of the court. Many nobles whispered that the human would never understand the complexity of Xyranth culture, its politics, or its vast traditions. Yet Mara had seen something in Liam that others had not. Calm, polite, and unassuming, he carried himself with dignity. And, more importantly, he treated her not as a queen, but as a person. The wedding hall was enormous, stretching hundreds of meters across, with arches that glowed softly with light energy. Alien attendants moved gracefully across the floor, adjusting decorations, placing delicate flowers, and checking ceremonial devices. At the center of the hall, a raised platform awaited the couple. Golden patterns on the floor formed intricate shapes that told stories of the Xyranth Empire's history. Liam stood nervously at the far end of the hall, dressed in a simple ceremonial outfit. The clothing was tailored for humans, blending modest Earth design with Xyranth elegance. He adjusted his sleeves, trying not to fidget, but his mind raced. He had been trained to handle high-stakes situations, but this was different. This was a palace full of beings far larger, stronger, and more intelligent than humans. Yet he did not shrink or flinch. He reminded himself that his strength lay not just in his body, but in his mind and his calm. Mara approached, her steps echoing softly across the hall. When she reached the platform, she looked directly at Liam. Her violet eyes studied him, curious and calm. "Are you ready?" she asked. Her voice was soft, yet it carried authority. Liam nodded, his own gaze steady. "Yes, Your Majesty," he replied, though the words felt awkward on his tongue. He was not used to such formality, but he refused to let nerves show. The ceremony began. A chorus of alien voices hummed harmoniously, blending in tones humans could barely perceive. The words were ancient, a language older than the stars themselves. Liam could not understand them, but he watched carefully, following Mara's cues. When she lifted her hand, he lifted his. When she knelt, he knelt. Despite not knowing the language, he moved with precision, showing respect to both the queen and her traditions. Several nobles watched from the sidelines, their expressions skeptical. One elder leaned to another and whispered, "This human, he seems calm, but humans are fragile. He will fail." "Fragile?" the other sneered. "He will crumble under our ways. The queen has made a mistake." Liam caught snippets of the whispers, though the alien words were foreign, their tone was clear. He did not respond, only smiled politely. It was not fear that made him silent, it was strategy. Let them doubt. Let them underestimate him. Humans were often overlooked, and that was their advantage. When the ceremony reached the moment of union, Mara stepped forward, placing a delicate hand on Liam's shoulder. The crowd hushed. Two small devices, glowing with soft light, descended from the ceiling. They emitted a gentle energy that signified the formal bond. Liam felt the warmth of the energy, and though he did not fully understand the alien magic, he felt the seriousness of the moment. As the devices retracted, the lights in the hall shifted, signaling the completion of the ritual. A murmur spread through the nobles. Many nodded respectfully. A few frowned, unconvinced that a human could hold the position of a queen's mate. Mara looked at Liam and smiled softly. "You have done well," she whispered. "I thank you, Your Majesty," Liam replied. His voice was quiet but steady. He had not only completed the ritual correctly, he had done so without hesitation, showing a calmness that few expected from a human. The celebration began immediately. Exotic foods floated from tables, served by attendants who moved with surprising speed and grace. Aliens of all shapes and sizes mingled, their forms ranging from winged beings to those with tentacles and multi-layered eyes. Liam moved among them, polite and attentive, never allowing fear or hesitation to show. He helped an elderly advisor pick up fallen ceremonial papers and even assisted a young alien child, whose curiosity had gotten them tangled in decorations. Some nobles began to watch him more closely. A few exchanged uneasy glances. It was subtle but clear. The human was not as simple as he appeared. During the feast, Mara invited Liam to sit beside her. She studied him carefully, curious. "You seem different from what I expected," she said. "I thought humans were fragile, quiet, and weak. But you—" She paused, unsure how to finish. Liam looked at her, his calm blue eyes steady. "We are not perfect, Your Majesty," he said simply. "But we do our best and we survive. That is enough." Mara considered his words, a small smile forming. Perhaps this human was not as simple as the nobles thought. Perhaps there was more strength in him than met the eye. As the feast continued, shadows moved across the walls. Some attendants had noticed small disturbances, objects slightly shifted, distant sounds in empty halls. Nothing seemed dangerous, yet a quiet tension lingered. Liam noticed it immediately. He had trained for danger. His senses, sharper than most humans, detected the faint signs of movement. He subtly shifted closer to Mara, aware that the palace, though magnificent, could conceal threats. A young attendant approached Mara, bowing low. "Your Majesty," they whispered. "All is prepared for the evening's celebration. But there are murmurs among the nobles. Some question your choice of mate." Mara's violet eyes narrowed slightly, though she did not show anger. "Let them doubt," she said quietly. "Let them whisper. I know his worth." Liam, hearing this, simply nodded. Let them doubt. Let them underestimate. He had faced worse than whispers in his life, and he knew that true strength was not shown in words but in actions. As the evening wore on, the palace lit up with vibrant colors. Light displays danced across the walls, reflecting on crystal decorations. Music filled the air, a symphony of alien tones, strange yet strangely beautiful to human ears. Mara and Liam moved together on the dance platform, a simple, graceful dance required by Zarinth tradition. Despite his lack of experience, Liam followed the rhythm perfectly, guided by his observation and natural coordination. Mara felt a deep admiration for him. He moved with ease, patience, and respect, qualities that many of her own species lacked. At the end of the dance, Mara stepped back, her eyes meeting Liam's. "You surprise me," she said softly. "I am glad to do so, Your Majesty," he replied. He was careful not to appear boastful, only calm and sincere. By the time the night reached its peak, the nobles had begun to murmur in a different tone. The skepticism was still there, but curiosity replaced some of the disdain. A human who could move with such grace, assist others without hesitation, and remain calm under scrutiny. Perhaps he was not so simple after all. Later, when the guests had retired to their quarters, Mara and Liam stood alone on the palace balcony. Stars stretched endlessly around them, and the silence was broken only by the soft hum of the palace engines. "You are not as simple as I thought," Mara said again, her voice soft, almost intimate. "I never claimed to be simple," Liam replied, his eyes scanning the horizon. "I only wish to protect and to serve where I can." Mara felt a strange warmth in her chest. She had chosen a mate who was kind, calm, and strong in ways the court could not see. Perhaps, she thought, this human could teach her more about courage, patience, and wisdom than anyone else in the galaxy. And yet, even as she admired him, she did not fully understand the depth of his abilities. For Liam, the night was only the beginning. His calmness, patience, and quiet strength would soon be tested in ways no human or alien could have imagined. The stars sparkled above, and the palace seemed peaceful. But in the shadows, small movements hinted at challenges yet to come. The queen believed she had married a simple man. But soon she would see that human strength could not be measured by appearance alone. And Liam, he was ready for whatever came next. The morning after the grand wedding, the palace of Queen Mara was quieter than usual. Sunlight filtered through crystalline windows, casting rainbow patterns on the polished floors. The air smelled faintly of exotic flowers and metal, a strange but pleasant combination that seemed to belong only to the Zarinth Empire. Liam walked slowly through the halls, noticing details others might overlook. He saw how the attendants moved with grace, yet sometimes glanced nervously toward certain corners. He noticed that a few nobles whispered behind closed doors, casting quick glances in his direction. Their unease was subtle, but it spoke volumes. Humans had learned long ago that appearances could be deceiving. Liam's calm exterior was deliberate. Let them underestimate him. Queen Mara joined him in the morning light. Her violet skin glimmered softly, and her silver hair shimmered like liquid moonlight. She moved gracefully, but there was tension in her shoulders. "I thought the first night would bring peace," she said quietly. "But I see the court remains restless." "They doubt you, not me," Liam replied, keeping his voice gentle but firm. "That is natural. They are used to strength being obvious, not quiet." Mara smiled faintly, a small spark of amusement in her eyes. "You are patient, Liam. That is one of your human traits, is it not?" "Yes," he admitted. "We learn patience when it is necessary, and sometimes we must act only when the time is right." Their conversation was interrupted by a faint noise from a distant corridor, a soft scraping almost like claws against metal. Liam's ears, more attuned than the average human's, caught the sound immediately. He turned subtly, scanning the hallway. Mara noticed his sudden focus. "What is it?" she asked, her voice calm but curious. "Possibly nothing," Liam said, though his eyes were sharp. "But I will check." He moved forward with silent steps, his body fluid and careful, a stark contrast to the nobles and attendants who often rushed about. As he turned a corner, he caught sight of a shadow slipping behind a pillar. The figure was quick, alien, and clearly attempting to remain hidden. Liam's mind worked swiftly. He did not panic. Instead, he observed patterns, the way the shadow moved, how it avoided the open light, and where it might go next. He returned to Mara, bowing slightly. "There is someone or something in the palace that should not be here," he said quietly. Mara's violet eyes narrowed. "Are you certain?" "Yes, I do not wish to alarm the court unnecessarily. But we must be cautious." Mara studied him for a long moment. She had begun to sense that Liam was far from simple. Even now, his calm, deliberate movements spoke of training and experience beyond what humans typically possessed. "Very well," she said softly. "We will watch together." The next hours passed in careful observation. Liam and Mara walked through the halls, noting strange movements and subtle changes. Some objects appeared slightly disturbed, as if someone had passed by. Certain attendants seemed anxious, their glances darting toward Liam and Mara. But whenever confronted, they smiled politely and returned to their duties. Liam remained calm, watching and waiting. He understood that patience was key. Often the best defense was not action, but observation. As the day continued, Mara began to feel a strange mixture of admiration and unease. Liam's quiet vigilance was reassuring, but it also highlighted the vulnerability of the palace. Even with all the security measures, unseen threats moved through the corridors. Mara, who had ruled the Xyranth Empire for years, realized that her human mate possessed an intuition that even her elite guards lacked. Later, in the palace gardens, the couple walked among towering plants that shimmered with soft bioluminescent light. Strange flowers, some with petals like glass, others glowing faintly from within, filled the air with delicate scents. The gardens were meant for relaxation, a place where even the queen could think freely. "Liam," Mara said, breaking the silence, "have you always been so observant?" "Yes," he replied simply. "I was trained to notice small details, to act only when necessary. Humans often rely on strategy and timing, not just strength." Mara considered his words carefully. "And yet I see strength in you as well," she said. "Not obvious strength like the soldiers or the warriors. Something quieter but no less powerful." Liam's eyes met hers, calm and steady. "Strength can take many forms, Your Majesty. Sometimes it is patience. Sometimes it is the ability to act when others are blind to danger. And sometimes it is simply protecting those who cannot protect themselves." Mara felt a warmth in her chest. She had married a man she believed to be simple, yet every moment with him revealed layers she could not have imagined. Perhaps humans were underestimated, not because they lacked strength, but because their strength was subtle, hidden beneath quiet patience and careful observation. As they strolled, a small group of palace guards approached. One of them, an alien with 4 arms and deep green scales, bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty," the guard said, "there have been reports of movement in the eastern wing. Some servants claim to have seen shadows moving, but none can confirm." Mara glanced at Liam. "Do you believe it?" "I do," Liam said simply. "And I suggest we investigate." The eastern wing of the palace was less ornate than the central halls. It was functional, used for storage and some administrative offices. Shadows stretched across the walls, cast by strange lighting devices that flickered unpredictably. Liam's steps were silent as he led Mara toward the source. He gestured for the guards to follow, but to maintain a safe distance. A faint sound, a soft hiss, echoed through the corridor. Liam paused, his senses alert. He saw a figure moving quickly, attempting to remain hidden. Without hesitation, he stepped forward, positioning himself between Mara and the shadow. "Show yourself," he said firmly, his voice calm but commanding. The figure froze. Slowly, it stepped into the light, revealing a small alien intruder, a minor noble attempting to spy on the Queen's new mate. The creature's eyes widened in fear as it realized Liam had anticipated its movements. You are only human," the intruder stammered. "How did you—" Liam did not answer. He simply held his position, calm and unyielding, a silent message that any aggression would fail. The intruder, sensing defeat, bowed quickly and retreated. Mara watched silently, her admiration growing. "You saw it coming," she said softly. "Yes," Liam replied. "Not everything can be seen by strength alone. Some things must be noticed before action is required." The palace guards, who had been watching closely, murmured among themselves. Many had trained for years, yet they realized that the human had abilities they had never seen. Quiet, subtle, and precise. Strength not in brute force, but in awareness, timing, and control. After the intruder was removed, Mara and Liam returned to the central hall. The court was in a state of quiet curiosity. Whispers circulated, no longer mocking but filled with wonder. Some nobles exchanged uneasy glances. Could a human truly possess skills beyond what they imagined? Mara took Liam's hand. "You are full of surprises," she said, a smile touching her lips. "And I am only beginning," he replied softly. The afternoon passed with lessons in Xyranth culture. Liam learned more about court etiquette, political alliances, and subtle power plays. He listened carefully, asking questions when needed, observing everything. Mara watched him, realizing that his mind was as sharp as his reflexes. The human's patience, intelligence, and calm presence made him a partner unlike any she had known. As night approached, the palace lights shifted again, casting a serene glow over the halls. Mara and Liam stood on the balcony once more, watching the stars stretch endlessly into space. "There is a strange calm tonight," Mara said softly. "Yes," Liam replied, "but calm can be deceptive. Shadows move even when the light is bright." Mara turned to him, her violet eyes serious. "Do you think danger will come?" "Perhaps," he said quietly. "But whatever comes, we will face it together. And I will not allow harm to reach you." Mara felt a surge of gratitude and admiration. She had believed she married a simple man, quiet and unassuming. Yet each day revealed more. Strength was not always loud. Courage did not always announce itself. And humans, perhaps they were far more capable than the galaxy had ever imagined. The night passed quietly, but the palace remained alert. Liam's senses had not rested. He noticed patterns, small disturbances, and signs of movement others missed. Every shadow, every faint sound was noted and remembered. He knew that his calm would be tested soon, and when it was, he would act, not for glory but for protection, strategy, and survival. For Mara, the realization was clear. Her human mate was no simple man, and the Xyranth Empire would soon see the quiet power of humanity, if only they survived the trials ahead. The stars shone above, endless and unyielding, and in the quiet halls of the palace, two figures stood ready. One, a queen who ruled an empire with wisdom and grace. The other, a human who was patient, observant, and stronger than anyone could guess. And the first shadows of real danger were already moving through the corridors. The palace of Queen Mara was alive with tension. The previous day's events had left whispers echoing in the corridors. Nobles exchanged nervous glances. Attendants moved with sharper focus, and Mara herself felt the air thick with anticipation. She could sense as clearly as Liam that not all was well within the walls of her grand starship palace. Liam walked beside her in the central hall, his calm blue eyes scanning the surroundings. He had been observing patterns, noting unusual movements of palace attendants, and sensing that someone, or several someones, was plotting against the queen. Humans had learned long ago that danger often arrived silently, not with announcements or threats. Liam had trained for these moments, though he had never expected to face alien assassins in a foreign palace. "Do you believe they will strike soon?" Mara asked, her violet eyes sharp with concern. "They may," Liam replied, his voice quiet but firm. "But we are prepared. We only need to stay vigilant." Mara nodded, trusting him completely. She had come to admire his patience, intelligence, and the quiet strength he carried. Even as her own people whispered doubts about his abilities, she felt confident in him. And she sensed that when the moment came, he would act decisively. That moment arrived sooner than anyone expected. The palace's grand hall, a place of celebration and beauty, was filled with nobles, attendants, and exotic decorations. Music played softly, a harmonic blend of alien instruments and human melodies. The queen had called a feast to maintain appearances, to show that the palace was calm and secure. But the calm was an illusion. Shadows flickered along the walls. Figures moved silently, using the chaos of the feast to approach the platform where Mara sat. Liam noticed immediately. His senses, sharper than most humans, detected disturbances in the patterns of movement. He saw subtle shifts in the lighting, faint noises that others ignored, and a ripple in the air that spoke of approaching danger. He placed a hand lightly on Mara's arm. "Something is coming," he whispered. Mara's violet eyes widened slightly, but she remained calm. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. "Stay behind me," Liam said, "and do not move until I give the signal." The first attack came without warning. From the sides of the hall, alien assassins leaped forward, their movements swift and precise. Their weapons, long and curved, gleamed under the soft lights. Gasps of fear spread among the nobles. Chaos erupted as attendants screamed and tried to flee, but Liam did not hesitate. In a single motion, he reached for the sword at his side, a long, gleaming blade that had been concealed beneath his ceremonial clothing. The nobles gasped. No one had expected the quiet human to be armed, let alone with a weapon that shone like a star. Liam drew the sword with a fluid motion. It hummed faintly, a sound only perceptible to those nearby. In that moment, time seemed to slow. The assassins, trained killers who thought themselves masters of combat, faced a human whose skill they could not yet measure. The first assassin lunged, aiming for Mara. Liam stepped forward, his blade intercepting the attack with a precision that stunned the audience. Sparks flew as metal met metal, and the assassin's weapon was knocked aside. Without hesitation, Liam pivoted, moving with a grace that seemed almost unnatural for a human. Each strike was deliberate, controlled, and deadly accurate. The hall erupted in shouts, cries, and the clash of weapons. Yet Liam remained calm, his focus unbroken. He moved between Mara and the attackers, protecting her with every step. Nobles who had doubted him watched in astonishment as he dispatched one assassin after another. His movements were fluid, almost like a dance, each motion perfectly calculated. Mara watched, awe filling her chest. The human she had believed simple revealed an extraordinary mastery of combat. His quiet strength, patience, and focus now shone brightly for all to see. She realized that he had been concealing far more than she ever imagined. Even the palace guards, highly trained in Xeranth combat techniques, hesitated. Liam's skills were unlike anything they had encountered. Not only was he fast and precise, but he also anticipated attacks before they came, moving in ways that seemed impossible for a human. When the last assassin fell, the hall was silent except for the hum of Liam's blade as he lowered it. Dust and debris floated in the soft lights, and nobles stared in shock and admiration. Mara stepped forward, her eyes wide. You saved me," she said, her voice filled with awe. "I only did what was necessary," Liam replied quietly. "No one should be harmed in their own palace." Mara's gaze softened. She realized that the human beside her was not only strong but wise and selfless. The queen had believed she married a simple man, but she now understood the truth. Liam was extraordinary. The aftermath of the attack was swift. Palace attendants and guards moved quickly to secure the hall. Injured nobles received care and the intruders were removed. Whispers ran through the corridors. Some were full of fear, others of admiration. The court had witnessed something they could not ignore. A human who could stand against trained alien assassins and protect the ruler of an empire. Later, in the privacy of her chambers, Mara approached Liam. "You never told me you were trained like this," she said softly, her violet eyes searching his face. "I did not wish to alarm you," Liam replied. "Humans often hide their strength until it is necessary. I wanted to be judged by who I am, not by what I can do with a weapon." Mara nodded, understanding the depth of his words. And yet today you have shown that your strength is more than physical. It is your courage, your focus, and your determination. You are not simple, Liam, far from it. He smiled faintly, a hint of humility in his expression. I only acted because it was needed. That is what humans do. We face challenges, protect those we care for, and adapt when necessary. Mara felt a deep admiration for him. The human she had married was not simple. He was patient, strategic, and strong in ways that the court could never have imagined. And she realized something else. With Liam by her side, she could face threats no one else could withstand. The next days were filled with preparation. Mara and Liam worked together to strengthen the palace defenses. Using both human ingenuity and knowledge of alien tactics, Liam suggested improvements that the Xyranth guards had never considered. He organized training for select guards, teaching them new strategies and ways to anticipate attacks. Even the Queen's advisors began to notice the human's wisdom and insight. Whispers of admiration spread among the court. Many nobles who had mocked the human now regarded him with caution and respect. They realized that underestimating him could be dangerous. One afternoon, as Mara and Liam walked through the palace gardens, she spoke quietly. Do you think the attackers were part of a larger plan? Most likely, Liam replied. Someone within the court seeks power. The attack was meant to weaken your position, to test our defenses, and to create fear. But they underestimated us, underestimated me. Mara's eyes softened. You have changed everything, Liam. Not just in battle, but in how the court sees us, sees you. Humans may be underestimated across the galaxy, but you have proven that their strength cannot be ignored. He looked at her, calm and steady. Humans have always faced challenges. We survive because we adapt, observe, and act when necessary. That is all anyone needs. The Queen smiled faintly. She had married a man she believed simple, but each day revealed more layers: strength, wisdom, and courage. And she knew that the Empire would be safer with him by her side. As the days passed, the palace grew more secure. Liam continued to observe, train, and prepare. He knew that threats would not end with a single attack. The rival faction that had tried to assassinate the Queen would regroup. But he was ready. Humans had faced impossible odds for centuries, and he was determined to ensure that Mara's reign remained unchallenged. And Mara. She realized that she had found not just a mate, but a true partner. Liam's calm strength, intelligence, and courage inspired her. She had once thought he was simple, but now she understood the truth. He was extraordinary. The stars outside the palace shimmered in the endless void, indifferent to the struggles of the beings within. Yet inside the palace, a new power had emerged. A human, quiet and unassuming, had shown that courage and skill were not limited by size, species, or origin. The Queen and her mate stood together on the balcony, looking out at the stars. Mara felt a deep sense of trust and admiration. Liam's secret was revealed, but it was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges, dangers, and mysteries, and together, they would face them all. The night was calm, but in the distant corridors and shadows of the palace, whispers of plots and schemes persisted. Liam's abilities had been revealed, but that also meant new eyes watched him, wondering if the human could be stopped. Liam's calm blue eyes met Mara's violet gaze. Whatever comes next, he said softly, we will face it together. Mara nodded, her heart steady. Yes, together. And in that quiet moment, the human and the Queen knew that the true test was only beginning. The rivals who had tried to harm the Queen would return, and when they did, they would face not just a queen, but a human whose skill, courage, and strategy were unmatched. The palace had survived the first strike, and with Liam by her side, Queen Mara felt that nothing could break them. The galaxy would soon see that humans were not to be underestimated. The palace of Queen Mara had recovered from the attack, but the air remained tense. Nobles and attendants moved with careful attention, and whispers of fear and speculation circulated through the corridors. Mara herself was determined to restore calm, but she knew that the threats were far from over. Liam walked beside her in the main hall, his eyes scanning the room as he observed patterns of movement, subtle shifts, and the occasional nervous glance from the nobles. He had already begun organizing the palace defenses, analyzing vulnerabilities that others had overlooked. Humans often relied on observation and strategy, rather than sheer strength alone. and Liam's careful planning impressed even the seasoned Zeranth guards. "You have done more than anyone could expect," Mara said softly, her violet eyes observing him with admiration. "You have not only protected me but strengthened the palace itself." Liam smiled faintly. "It is only necessary. The Empire must be secure. If the Queen is safe, then the people are safe as well." Mara nodded. "You are extraordinary, Liam. Even my advisors are beginning to notice." Indeed, the palace advisors and selected nobles had begun to approach Liam cautiously. Some were curious, others wary. A few even sought his guidance on improving security and strategy. Liam remained humble, offering insights without arrogance, showing that human intelligence could be a valuable asset even among beings far older and stronger than himself. Over the next few days, Liam worked closely with the palace guards. He taught them subtle techniques that combined human combat training with Zeranth methods. Simple adjustments in positioning, timing, and anticipation made the guards more effective. The palace that had once seemed vulnerable now became a fortress, defended not only by advanced technology, but by careful strategy and skill. Mara watched all of this with growing pride. She realized that humans, underestimated across the galaxy, had qualities that the Zeranth often overlooked: adaptability, ingenuity, and the ability to remain calm under pressure. Liam embodied all these traits, and his presence gave her confidence that no threat, however strong, could unseat her reign. One evening, Mara and Liam walked through the palace gardens. The bioluminescent plants cast a soft glow, illuminating their path. The air was warm and filled with the fragrance of strange alien flowers. For a moment it felt as if the world outside did not exist, and Mara allowed herself to relax in the company of her mate. "Do you think they will strike again?" Mara asked, her voice quiet but steady. "Perhaps," Liam replied. "Those who failed before will regroup, but now we are ready. We have learned from the attack and we can anticipate the next move." Mara's violet eyes softened. "You have changed everything, Liam. Your calm, your strength, your intelligence, it inspires everyone. Even the nobles who doubted you now respect you." Liam shook his head slightly. "I do not seek respect. I only act as needed. That is enough for me." Mara smiled faintly. She had believed she married a simple man, quiet and unassuming, but now she saw that he was anything but simple. Liam was a strategist, a protector, and a partner who could match her in courage and wisdom. The following day, reports arrived that a faction of rival nobles was attempting to rally support for another coup. They had retreated after the failed attack but were not defeated. Mara convened a council meeting, inviting Liam to participate. The other nobles were hesitant at first, unsure how to react to a human seated among them, yet Liam spoke calmly, clearly, and with precision. "We must anticipate their moves," he said. "They will act where they believe we are weakest. We strengthen those areas, position our forces, and prepare traps for those who attempt to attack. Fear will not protect us. Strategy will." Some of the older advisors exchanged uneasy glances. Liam's human perspective was different from their traditional methods, yet they could not deny the logic in his words. Slowly, nods of agreement spread across the room. Even the skeptical nobles began to see that Liam's strategies were sound and practical. Over the next several days, the palace underwent subtle but significant changes. Guards were repositioned, observation points were improved, and small squads were trained in new tactics. Liam worked alongside Mara, ensuring that the palace's defenses were stronger than ever. He moved with quiet authority, never demanding respect yet earning it naturally through action and insight. Mara noticed something else as well. Liam had begun to teach her some of his human strategies. They discussed scenarios, anticipated threats, and devised contingency plans. Mara realized that with him she could act faster, anticipate more effectively, and make decisions with confidence. The human's calm intelligence complemented her own intuition and leadership skills perfectly. One afternoon, as Mara and Liam walked through the observation deck, a young guard approached nervously. "Your Majesty, Liam," the guard said, "we have detected unusual activity near the outer corridors. Some have reported seeing figures moving in the shadows." Liam's calm blue eyes narrowed. "Prepare a patrol," he said, "but maintain stealth. We do not want them to know they are observed." The patrol moved quietly through the corridors, and sure enough, a group of minor nobles, desperate to regain power, attempted to sneak through the palace. Liam and Mara's careful planning had anticipated this. The patrol intercepted the intruders without alerting the entire court, showing that preparation and intelligence could prevent chaos before it began. Mara watched the operation, impressed. "You have turned the palace into a fortress," she said. "Even without fighting, your presence ensures safety." Liam shook his head slightly. "Safety is a combination of readiness, awareness, and action when needed. Humans rely on all three. We observe, plan, and act." The successful interception of the intruders strengthened Mara's position. Nobles who had once whispered doubts now regarded Liam with caution and respect. Mara realized that his influence was growing, not through force or intimidation, but through competence and intelligence. Humans could inspire loyalty in ways the Xeranth had not anticipated. As days passed, Mara and Liam worked on strengthening alliances both inside and outside the palace. Messages were sent to neighboring systems, demonstrating the Queen's renewed strength and the strategic mind of her human mate. Mara realized that with Liam by her side, she could extend her influence farther than ever before. One evening, Mara and Liam stood on the balcony, looking out at the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of unknown dangers, opportunities, and possibilities. "You have changed everything, Liam," Mara said quietly. "Not just here in the palace, but in how we are seen. Humans may be underestimated, but you have shown that we are not to be taken lightly." Liam's gaze remained calm, steady. "We only act when necessary. But yes, humans have qualities that are often overlooked: courage, intelligence, and the ability to adapt. That is what allows us to survive." Mara placed a hand on his arm, her eyes reflecting admiration and trust. "I am grateful that you are here. Together we can face anything." He smiled faintly. "I will always be here, Your Majesty. For you, for the Empire, and for those who cannot defend themselves." The Queen realized something important in that moment. Liam's presence had changed not only her life, but the entire Xeranth Empire. Humans, underestimated across the galaxy, possessed strength that others could not comprehend, and Liam had proven that this strength could be wielded with calm, intelligence, and courage. As night fell over the palace, the gardens glowed softly, and the corridors remained vigilant. Shadows still moved, but the palace was no longer vulnerable. Liam's strategies, combined with Mara's leadership, ensured that they were prepared for whatever challenges came next. In the quiet of the night, Mara reflected on the human beside her. She had believed she married a simple man, quiet and unassuming, yet each day revealed new layers of his abilities. He was strategic, brave, and wise beyond what most beings could imagine. And soon, Mara knew, the Empire would face new challenges. Rivals would attempt to strike again, but this time, they would encounter a queen and her human mate, united in purpose, strength, and intelligence. The stars shimmered above, indifferent to the struggles of mortals. Yet inside the palace, a new power had emerged. Liam, the human, had shown that courage and skill were not limited by size, species, or origin. And with Mara's trust and guidance, he had transformed from a quiet observer into a strategic force whose influence could change the course of the Empire. Mara looked at him and felt a deep sense of pride. "The galaxy will see what humans can do," she said softly. Liam's calm eyes met hers. "Yes, and they will understand that strength is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, careful, and deliberate. Sometimes it is human." Together they turned back toward the palace, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. The rival factions would not rest, but neither would they. Mara and Liam, united in purpose and strength, were prepared to protect the Empire, and to show the galaxy that humans were forces to be reckoned with. The stars above twinkled, vast and endless. And inside the palace, two figures stood together, ready to meet the future: a queen who ruled with wisdom and grace, and a human who had revealed strength beyond imagination. The alliance was complete. The palace was secure, and the first shadows of the next challenge were already forming, but Mara and Liam were ready. The palace of Queen Mara was alive with anticipation. Word had reached them that the rival faction, enraged by their previous failures, had gathered a new army. This time the attack would be larger, stronger, and more coordinated. The Queen knew the stakes were higher than ever. The security of the Empire, the lives of her people, and her very throne depended on what would happen in the coming hours. Liam stood at the center of the grand hall, observing the palace with careful eyes. Every corridor, every door, every possible entry point had been reinforced and monitored. He had trained the guards, devised strategies, and prepared contingency plans. Yet he remained calm as he always did. Humans had learned long ago that fear never helped in a fight. Only preparation, observation, and decisive action mattered. Mara approached him, her violet eyes sharp and filled with determination. "Are we ready?" she asked. "Yes," Liam replied calmly. "We are stronger now than when the first attack came. We will face them and repel them, and together we will prevail." Mara nodded. She felt a deep sense of trust and admiration for her human mate. The past weeks had shown her that Liam was far from simple. He was patient, intelligent, and courageous in ways the Zyranth Empire had never seen. The first signs of the attack came as the sky around the palace darkened. Shuttles moved swiftly, carrying armed forces loyal to the rival faction. The palace sensors detected them immediately, sending alerts throughout the corridors. Guards took positions, and civilians were moved to safe areas. Mara and Liam stood at the command center coordinating defenses. "Position the squads at the eastern wing," Liam instructed. "Cover the windows and monitor the corridors. They will try to split their forces." "Yes, Liam," one of the senior guards said, impressed by the humans' calm command. As the first wave approached, the attackers attempted to breach the palace walls with energy weapons and advanced technology. Guards opened fire and alarms blared throughout the halls. But the invading forces underestimated the combination of Zyranth technology and Liam's strategic planning. They had anticipated each move, laying traps that slowed and confused the attackers. Then came the first direct confrontation. A group of enemy soldiers breached one of the corridors, moving swiftly toward Mara's chambers. Liam drew his sword, the familiar hum filling the air as he stepped forward. His movements were precise and fluid, every strike calculated to disarm and disable without unnecessary force. The enemy soldiers had trained for combat, but they had not faced a human with Liam's skill. He moved with speed and intelligence, parrying attacks, blocking strikes, and striking with accuracy that left the attackers stunned. Within moments, the corridor was cleared. The guards, trained in Zyranth techniques, followed his lead, striking with confidence now that they saw his skill firsthand. Mara watched from a secure observation point, her heart filled with pride. The man she had married, whom many had once considered simple, was now proving to the Empire that humans were capable of greatness. His calm bravery inspired everyone around him. The battle raged through the palace. Energy beams streaked through the halls, alarms echoed, and guards fought valiantly. Yet the attackers were persistent, seeking any weakness they could exploit. Liam moved tirelessly, coordinating defenses, leading patrols, and personally engaging the most dangerous threats. At one point, a squad of elite enemy fighters attempted to reach the throne room directly. Liam intercepted them, his sword a blur as he moved with both grace and lethal precision. Each strike was measured, disabling opponents without unnecessary force, showing skill that was almost superhuman to those watching. The attackers fell back, disoriented and defeated, while the palace defenders gained confidence. Mara, inspired by Liam's courage, took command of her own forces in the throne room. She directed guards, coordinated energy shields, and ensured the safety of the civilians. Together, they formed a seamless partnership. Human and Zyranth, strategy and leadership blending into a force no enemy could easily break. As the battle reached its peak, Liam and Mara stood together on the balcony overlooking the Grand Hall. Below, the palace forces pushed back the attackers, slowly turning the tide. Liam's calm eyes scanned the battlefield, anticipating every move. "They will regroup," he said quietly. "But we are ready for them." Mara nodded, her trust unwavering. "And we will face them together," she replied. Sure enough, the enemy attempted one final strike, sending a concentrated force toward the throne room. Liam and Mara were ready. Liam led a small squad directly into the corridor, intercepting the attackers with a combination of strategy and skill. The clash was intense, but his training and patience gave the defenders the advantage. He moved with a precision that left everyone watching in awe. Each motion was deliberate, calculated, and effective. The attackers, expecting an easy victory, were overwhelmed by a human they had dismissed as weak. Within minutes, the corridor was secure, and the final push had been repelled. Mara entered the corridor beside him, her presence a symbol of unity and strength. Together they directed the final defense, ensuring that no enemy could breach the inner sanctum of the palace. The combined power of Xyranth warriors and Liam's human strategy proved unstoppable. When the battle ended, the palace was still, except for the hum of energy shields and the soft footsteps of guards checking for remaining threats. The rival faction had been defeated decisively. The court and attendants gathered, watching Liam and Mara, awe and respect evident in every face. Mara stepped forward, addressing the assembled nobles. Today we have faced danger and survived, not because of one person alone, but because of unity, courage, and intelligence. And I wish to honor someone who has shown extraordinary skill, calm, and bravery. All eyes turned to Liam. Whispers ran through the crowd. The human, once underestimated and considered simple, now stood at the center of attention. His calm expression did not change, yet the aura of respect around him was unmistakable. Liam, Mara continued, her voice clear and firm, has proven that humans possess strength beyond what we imagined. He has defended this palace, this empire, and me, showing courage, wisdom, and skill. Let it be known that humans are forces to be respected across the galaxy. The nobles, some hesitant, some amazed, bowed deeply. Even those who had once mocked him now acknowledged his worth. Liam's actions had changed the perception of humans within the Xyranth Empire forever. Liam stepped forward, bowing slightly to the Queen. I only did what was necessary, he said quietly. I fought to protect those who could not defend themselves. That is enough for me. Mara smiled softly, admiration and pride shining in her eyes. Your humility is part of your strength. But know this, Liam. The Empire and I are forever grateful for your courage and wisdom. The palace attendants and guards cheered, their voices echoing through the halls. The victory was not just a military success, it was a triumph of strategy, courage, and partnership. The human who had once been considered simple had become a symbol of hope and inspiration for all. In the days following the battle, the court worked to restore order and celebrate the Queen's victory. Liam continued to advise Mara, helping reorganize defenses and ensuring that the Empire remained strong. His influence grew not through fear or intimidation, but through competence, intelligence, and calm leadership. Mara often walked with him through the palace gardens, reflecting on the events of the past weeks. You have changed everything, Liam, she said quietly. Not just in battle, but in how the court sees us, sees you. Humans may be underestimated, but you have proven that we are not to be ignored. Liam shook his head slightly. I only acted as needed. Humans survive by adapting, observing, and acting when necessary. Today was no different, Mara smiled faintly. And yet today you have inspired everyone. You have shown that courage and skill are not limited by species. Humans can stand as equals with the greatest of warriors. Liam's calm eyes met hers. That is because strength takes many forms. Patience, strategy, courage, and adaptability are all strength, and humans possess them all. The Queen felt a surge of pride. She had believed she married a simple man, quiet and unassuming. Yet each day revealed more of his extraordinary abilities. His calm, his intelligence, his skill in battle, and his ability to inspire loyalty and respect. Mara realized that with him by her side, the Empire was stronger, safer, and more united than ever. In the following weeks, the Xyranth Empire slowly returned to normal. Nobles who had once doubted humans now approached Liam with respect, seeking his advice and guidance. The story of his bravery spread throughout the Empire, changing perceptions of humans and their potential. Mara stood beside him on the balcony one evening, looking out at the stars. The galaxy will see what humans can do, she said softly. Liam's calm blue eyes reflected the endless lights of distant suns. Yes, and they will understand that true strength is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, deliberate, and wise. Sometimes it is human. Mara placed a hand on his arm, feeling the reassurance of his presence. Together we have faced danger and emerged victorious. And together we will continue to protect the Empire.